credo, and my capstone project is about homelessness and breaking the stigma. So I've always had quite an interest in homelessness because I was growing up in a church right next to New Creations Inn, which that is a transitional housing place for people to go for dealing with homelessness, and also dealing with an organization such as Loaves and Fishes, which has another impact on the community with homelessness. I've always had a bit of an interest in it and hearing about it every now and then, and I didn't really have much thought into it. I knew it existed, but I didn't really know what it was all about myself. But then hearing a quote like, helping one person might not change the world, but it might change the world for one person, that's really inspiring to me, because even if I'm not able to change the entire world in a big way, helping even one person at a time is a huge impact, I think, because any person truly has worth and it is able to be helped. So I'm able to use those skills and able to enhance my own knowledge and grow those skills so I can help to educate myself, but also others. So it leads me to my driving question, which is, how can I raise homelessness awareness and improve people's thinking and thoughts towards homelessness? Going on to how I used the knowledge and onto EOA. So starting with my research paper in my junior year, I was able to enhance my own knowledge by writing about what's happening in the entire nation and not just what's happening locally and my knowledge there. Because something happening in a metro area such as Denver versus a smaller rural area such as the Fremont County and Canyon, those are very big difference. So I was able to learn more about what's going on within those communities and the different types of homelessness and seeing how that differs from place to place. After that, I was able to gain insights on different thoughts throughout the high school on what homelessness actually was by placing a survey to students last spring, and I asked questions like, how do you think people got homeless? How many people do you think are homeless in the county? And I was able to get a lot of good information relating to those thoughts of the students. Then I wanted to know, well, I don't want to just read about it, I want to actually see what is homelessness actually like. So with the help of my mentor in Loaves and Fishes, I was able to get in an interview with a real person who deals with homelessness. And I was able to see firsthand what it actually deals with, because this person deals with homelessness for a decade throughout their youth, at age 14 all the way up until 24. So I was able to get some really good insight on what that actually means to them and see what is actually going on in the community so I can better educate myself. Then after that, I compiled all this information into a pamphlet, which I was able to use and then display within the high school. So I was able to educate students and those around me on what actually goes on with statistics, facts, and the story of the interview I had, and able to see what people can actually do about the issue. Moving on to how I used math, I used 3.0, constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reasoning of others. As you can see on this chart, part of my survey was seeing county people thought what the number of people were homeless in the county. And you can see that there was a majority of them were either below it or above it, but there was very few that actually got it right in the range. So it definitely shows how people don't quite understand what's going on. They either guess or they maybe have the wrong idea, if there's either too many or too less. So I was definitely able to see and able to see what people actually do know and how I can educate them better. In addition to that, I was able to attend to precision, because it's easy to forget that on a chart, every number is actually a real person, and the difference between 20 people and 30 people, wow, that's only 10 people, that's 10 people that can be impacted and 10 lives that are mattering here. And if we don't get statistics correctly here, then that could be either people that aren't getting the resources they need or miscalculating. And just to show, in 2020, there were 840 people homeless in the non-metro areas of Colorado, and just last year it jumped to 400. So that just shows that being specific with what the statistics we have here, that really matters, because every single person that also helps, even a few more hands, that's a few more hands that can help out in our communities and make a difference. And lastly, for math, I was able to make use of structure, because as you can see on this word cloud, the bigger the word, that means that I asked the students, why do you think people are homeless? And the bigger the word means the more times it was said. In a pool size of about 70 survey results, you can see that the biggest ones tend to be drugs, I don't know, or anything. So this clearly shows that people don't quite know what's going on, and while drugs could be an impact of homelessness, there's many other factors that deal with it, such as job loss, unaffordable housing, and many other unforeseen circumstances that people may not put into perspective because it's easy just to judge them without knowing the full story. And then we can actually see from this what the actual problem is and then find solutions and not just jumping to conclusions. So the trait I used was agency, and I was able to use that by putting a lot of work into comprehending this subject because there's a lot of moving parts and it's not an easy subject to comprehend. And I'm able to grow myself independently through that because since I know more about it myself, I'm able to then use those skills to reach out to other people and spread the awareness more than it has been, so I don't have to rely on other sources, and I'm able to grow that. I was also challenged by interviewing somebody because generally I'm more of a shy person, so reaching out of my comfort zone and finding somebody who had real experience was a big challenge, and I was able to grow myself so I can become a more effective leader when I try to educate others. And to reflect on all of this, there's a lot I had to learn. There's a lot more going on. This is a way more serious issue than I originally knew, and I was able to really grow myself knowing that there's a lot of stigma on the issue and a lot of working parts because an organization like Loaves and Fishes does a lot of work that people may not actually see what's going on. And also just remind myself again that every number on the table is a real person who has worth, and it's easy to forget that when we're looking at a chart, but just putting that into perspective. Calling to action, because change can still happen even if it's hard, because we can use these skills of being able to be having some empathy and understanding others so that we can make a difference by spreading the awareness and break the stigma so that more impact can happen throughout all of this. And using these skills in my future, going to Colorado School of Mines, it's definitely a way different environment than it would be here. So I would like to use these skills to get involved with these kind of organizations so that I can grow myself and have a good future so that I can not just focus on my own growth, but also be able to help grow others and be able to support them. And just remembering to have empathy and try to pay it forward because I've been blessed in my life, and I'm glad to have everything I have, so I want to be able to give that back to others and help those communities around me. And together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Questions from the judges, please.
Can you tell me a little bit about your innovation trait?
Yeah. So I would say I use innovation by coming up with creative ways to change students' thinking. So when I wanted to originally target students, because that's who I heard most from, with how they think about homelessness, I was trying to think of what would impact them most, and I figured if I found somebody who actually experienced homelessness firsthand as a youth, I think it's easier for students to empathize with somebody who is like themselves. And hearing from the person I interviewed, he was very open, and it was definitely very hard for him to deal with it throughout his entire youth, and I figured that I was able to creatively come up with a way to connect to students better, because if it's their own age, then I knew that was a better way to reach them than some older person who might not be able to reach out better to our students.
How did your perception of people in homelessness situations change from beginning a project to end?
So at the beginning of the project, as I mentioned, I was very uneducated, but hearing from my mentor, who's the director at Loaves and Fishes, and hearing the story from my person I interviewed, it just blew my mind. There's all sorts of catastrophes that went on in this person's life, knowing that there's some just rough places out there, people just aren't good to these people, and this person deals with mental health, and people just didn't understand that. They just assumed that he was always just on drugs or something, or down on his luck and not really doing anything for himself. It just really widened my perspective because I was able to see that there's a lot more to this than what I originally saw.
Thomas, you said School of Mines. What are in your plans for the future, and how do you see this as playing a part in your future?
So first off, I would say, since I'm going toward an engineering track, that part of being an engineer isn't always just like the physical working. It's definitely about innovation, coming up with creative ways to find solutions to a problem, and trying to get others to figure out what might be the best solution and working with others, because I had many revisions on how I wanted to present in my pamphlets and being able to work with others throughout all of that definitely widened my perspective and built my team building skills. And also, not relating to engineering, I would like to continue to get involved with these organizations past high school because I didn't want to just get this one and done, but it's truly enlightening to be able to help somebody that may not have been able to get help before.